Most football matches have two sides. This one has players who belong to both of them. France and Morocco meet in the quarterfinal at Boston Stadium on July 9th, a rematch of the 2022 semifinal that France won. And on paper, it's a blockbuster. Two of the best teams left in the tournament, a genuine revenge narrative, the biggest stage in the sport. But there's a layer underneath all of that which makes this game unlike almost anything else at this World Cup. And by the end of this, you're going to see it completely differently. A total of 20 players in Morocco's 2026 World Cup squad were born outside of Morocco, and France and Spain lead the way with 6 players born in each country. 6 players on that Moroccan squad, lining up to beat France, were born and raised in France. Even Morocco's previous head coach, Regragui, was born and raised in France to Moroccan parents. So before we even talk tactics, before we talk Mbappe, before we talk revenge, we need to talk about what it actually does to a person to play against the country that made them. Because that's the real story of this game, and the psychology of it goes deeper than most people realize. The first thing to understand is the sheer scale of what Morocco has built. 20 out of 26 players in their 2026 squad were born outside Morocco. Roughly 77% of the roster holding birth certificates from countries like France, Spain, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Canada. These aren't fringe squad players padding out the bench. They're the spine of the team. Captain Achraf Hakimi was born in Madrid. Goalkeeper Yassine Bounou was born in Canada. Midfielder Sofiane Amrabat was born in the Netherlands. This team is by design a product of the Moroccan diaspora, and France is the single largest source, contributing 27 of Morocco's diaspora players across recent squads. So when Morocco run out in Boston on Thursday, a significant portion of that dressing room grew up speaking French, watching Ligue 1, maybe dreaming about playing for Les Bleus one day. And now they're lining up against them in a World Cup quarterfinal. That's not a subplot, that's the whole emotional engine of this match. Here's where it gets psychologically interesting. Think about what it means to hold two identities at once. These players grew up with one foot in each world. The language, the culture, the football education of France on one side, and the blood, the family, the heritage of Morocco on the other. Psychologists describe this kind of dual belonging as holding two homes simultaneously. And most of the time, that's actually a source of richness. It gives you depth. It gives you perspective. But the moment you have to line up against one half of your own identity, that richness turns into something much more complicated. Pride and grief sitting in the same chest in the same 90 minutes. And here's the thing that most people miss. For a lot of these players, the choice to represent Morocco wasn't just sentimental. It was personal in a much sharper way. Out of 61 diaspora players assessed between 2017 and 2026, 28 of them, nearly half, had previously been involved with another national setup, usually at youth level, before switching to Morocco. Some of those players went through French youth academies, were developed by the French system, and were never fully called up. Morocco chose them when France didn't, and that changes everything about how you approach this fixture, because there is no more powerful motivational force in sport than proving something to the people who doubted you. When you've spent years in a system that didn't fully want you, and you line up against that system on the biggest stage in the world, something switches. It stops being about football. It becomes about identity, about worth, about answering every quiet doubt that was ever placed on you. That fuel is real, it's documented, and it is sitting in that Moroccan dressing room right now. But here's what I haven't told you yet. And this is the part that actually determines whether Morocco can pull off one of the greatest upsets in World Cup history. Stay with me. If you've been watching this tournament and you want to understand the tactical side of how Morocco could actually stop France and how Mbappe fits into all of this, drop that in the comments. I want to know what you're most curious about, because that shapes what we cover next. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We're going deep on every quarterfinal this week, and you don't want to miss it. Now, back to the psychology, because there's a third layer here that sits on top of divided identity and the proving ground motivation, and it might be the most powerful one of all. Morocco created history at Qatar 2022 by becoming the first African team to progress to the World Cup semifinal stage. At this tournament, they become the first African nation to reach the quarterfinals in consecutive World Cups. That means when these players walk out onto that pitch, they don't just carry their own story. They carry a continent. They carry hundreds of millions of people across Africa and the Arab world who see themselves in this team, who grew up without a team that looked like them reaching this stage. Playing for a cause that enormous, that far bigger than yourself, is one of the most well-documented performance amplifiers in sport. It can lift a group of players beyond what their individual talent suggests, turning shared identity into a kind of collective adrenaline that's almost impossible to manufacture from the outside. France can't replicate that. France have been the most dangerous team on attack in this tournament, scoring 14 goals in 5 matches, with Mbappe leading the charge on 7 goals and Dembélé adding 4. They are, by most measures, the best team left in this competition. But they are playing for a trophy. Morocco are playing for something that doesn't have a name. And now here's the thing I promised you at the start, the part that cuts both ways. All of this emotional weight, the divided identity, the proving ground motivation, the weight of a continent, the 2022 revenge, it collides at once inside the same group of players. And that cocktail is extraordinary. But it is also dangerous, because the same intensity that can inspire a historic upset can tip into over-arousal, where emotion overwhelms composure and the moment becomes too big to play in. We've seen it happen. Teams that wanted it too much, felt it too deeply, and froze when the ball actually needed to be controlled in the 89th minute. The real dividing line in this game isn't tactical, it's psychological. The Moroccan players who grew up in France, who were overlooked by France, who chose Morocco because Morocco chose them. The ones who can take all of that and channel it into a single, clear, present tense focus, rather than letting it spiral into inner conflict. Those are the players capable of knocking out the country that raised them. The ones who can't will give the ball away at the worst possible moment. Morocco have been quietly excellent, unbeaten across 5 games, hardened by their run to the last 8. France won their previous encounter 2-0 in the Qatar 2022 semifinal. The rematch is set, the stage is the biggest in the sport, and for a handful of players on that Moroccan team, Thursday in Boston isn't just a quarterfinal. It's the answer to a question they've been carrying their whole lives. That's the game. And honestly, whatever happens, it's going to be one of the most emotionally loaded 90 minutes of this entire tournament. Watch it knowing what you now know, and you'll see something completely different from everyone around you. If you want the full tactical breakdown of how this game actually gets decided on the pitch, how Morocco set up to slow France down, and where Mbappe finds his spaces, that video is up next. Click it. You're already this deep in,